All right, I'm recording for the final review. Final review for the final exam. Pretty simple, two questions. So the first question, according to Donna Haraway, right, and staying with the trouble, what's the difference between that Chitzilazine, however you pronounce it, I don't know, the Anthropocene and Capitalocene. Okay, so the Anthropocene was basically this first era. You can think of it of the biblical era, all the way to the industrial era. And basically it was that man was, humanity was centered focus, right? And it was this idea of humanity having dominion over the earth, right? That's the Anthropocene. The Capitalocene starts during the industrial era and kind of during colonialism, right? So kind of the birth of mercantile capitalism, right? And the industrial era. During that era, this notion of humanity having dominion of the earth goes to kind of an obscene level where now it's like humanity is using the earth for resources, right? It's destroying the earth in the process and kind of creating this end time situation. So the Chichilazine, which is the era we're in now, is kind of the end times, right? It's kind of, we've left, kind of the world is in tatters from the Capitalocene. But the Chichilazine is not necessarily, the end times. They are the end times a little bit, but they're not necessarily bad, right? It's a new era. In particular, how can we live? How can we move to the Chichilazine? According to Donna Haraway, that requires two things. First, it requires that multi-species alliance with animals, to have empathy with animals, right? So to see ourselves as in relation with animals. She uses the example of pigeons, which we talked a little bit about. Rather than abusing and using animals, to see animals as instead, like to see ourselves as animals, right? And to see us all part of one alliance, one multi-species alliance. The second thing is to merge with machines, right? To become cyborgs. So human-machine mergers. But the problem is that we also need to remember as we merge with machines, we have to maintain our empathy. We have to maintain that which makes us human, right? Empathy, humility, modesty. There's a problem that if we merge with machines, we might lose our sense of empathy and connection to each other. So that's really the key thing. We have to maintain that as we merge with machines. Okay? So that's the first question. The second question, simulation theory. So basically, simulation theory broadly is just the idea that we're not living in reality, right? This world that we're living in, this perceived reality, is actually a manifestation of a digital program. So we're in a program, we're all part of a program, and our reality is not what we think it is. And there's some ideas, so there's Bostrom's theory of the simulation we talked about. There's the idea that we're part of this ancestor simulation and that future generations are running this ancestor simulation to get a sense of connection to us, their ancestors. There's that theory that we're part of this ancestor simulation and future generations are kind of running this thing on us. That's one of the ideas. There's also a variety of other ideas. I think Elon Musk has some ideas. It's an idea that they're running multiple simulations, some program to try to figure out some sort of problem or issue. Maybe in this case, someone's running a pandemic simulation on us. I don't know, maybe that's what we're part of. So there's all sorts of ideas. And so in this question, you can kind of have fun with it. So I'm looking for your opinion. Do you think we're living in a simulation? Why or why not, right? We use the example of, there's kind of 4 proofs for why we're potentially living in a simulation. So you could go back to those 4 proofs that we talked about if you want to, or come up with your own proofs, right? So rather than just say, oh, the pixelation, because I think the 4 proofs are pixelated universe, right? In a microscope, you get down to the smallest human measurement, it's pixelated. And then there's the observation dilemma. So that is, why when you turn a camera on, right, when you, suddenly matter manifests itself, starts moving, right, starts animating. So there's all sorts of various reasoning that you could use, or you could come up with your own. So whatever you want to do. And the key with simulation theory and quantum theory of the multiverse, right? How does it reify and support existing notions. I think there, the key idea is that, you could still have the idea that, so kind of connected with the simulation theory, sorry, I didn't explain the multiverse theory, is the idea that there could be multiple universes out there. And some people say that the multiverse could be related to simulation theory, and that there could be multiple universes because there's multiple simulations going on. But I think at the end of the day, simulation theory still holds that there could be a God, right? Or there's some sort of otherworldly being, right? Whether those are future generations that are more advanced than us, or the machine that's running the program, right? So there's still a notion that there could be a God, a creator. It doesn't necessarily reject any sort of like Christian notions of God. I think in many ways it supports the notion that there's an all-powerful being out there that's controlling everything, right? I think it very much lines up with that. So yeah, I think however you want to go with this question, it's supposed to have fun with it. So don't feel like you have to this has one thing I have to talk about. And I had those videos up too. Go back to those videos, why we're living in a simulation, that talk about various rationale. I kind of talked about a few, like pixelated universe, the observation dilemma. There's variety of different reasonings out there. I think there's even more than 4, if you can find that out there. Yeah, there's also the notion of sleeping, for example. So some people I heard sleeping might be an example of a simulation, because the question is, why do we sleep? Well, it could be that we go to sleep so that we save energy, right? Just like a video game, right, or something. So we turn off because we're trying to save energy, and that's the idea. And again, there's that other rationale. Another idea is, why does the notion of death, right? So matter essentially ceases if you cool it down, right? If you cool the human body down to a certain level, you're dead, right? Basically, matter can turn off, and you turn it off through basically the cold, right? Freezing something, something like that. That's how you stop matter from moving in motion. Very much like a computer. When a computer turns off, it's cooled down, right? You cool it, you cease it, right? It's a very similar process. So the human matter and animal matter, all sorts of matter, seems to kind of operate in much the same way as a computer or a program. So yes, I think these are all kind of ideas you can talk about. Again, you can talk about your own ideas. There's all sorts of crazy cool ideas out there about simulation theory. And if you don't think you're against simulation theory, give me those ideas too. Be like, you know what, I think this is absolutely base reality, as they call it, right? Because I think that's nonsense, whatever you want to say. Definitely. Because I think we talked about it with the case of the Matrix. A lot of people are like, does the Matrix prove we're living in a simulation? Not. There's the idea, actually not. It doesn't. And because the point in the Matrix is to don't make the mistake of thinking that you're living in a simulation, right? Come back to reality. This is reality, and you need to wake up. There's actually kind of a problem of potentially thinking that you are in a simulation when you're not, and you need to wake up out of it. So you couldn't make that argument, like a Matrix-like argument. Actually we're living in reality, and there's actually a danger of potentially thinking you're living in a simulation, just going through with life and allowing yourself to be controlled and manipulated by other people, right? You could go down that route. That would be interesting. Okay, so you guys, in terms of each question, I say 6, 7, 8 sentences per question, whatever you guys think. But just like a solid paragraph, and have fun with these questions, right? Don't stress about them too much. I know you guys worked hard on your papers, and because your papers are so good, really enjoyed reading them. Really enjoyed having you all in class. Really, really, and I miss you guys greatly. So again, try to get the exam in. Please, please, please do it, right? Exam due Tuesday, May 19th at 11:59 p.m. Okay? I am not going to accept any work after Wednesday, May 20th, okay? I can't, because I got to get all the grades done by Friday, okay? So Wednesday, absolutely the last date. Do not get anything in. I can't accept it after that because I've got to get the grades in by Friday. Okay? All right, you guys have a great summer and good luck.